All right, so welcome back to another comic review, and this is another book sent to me by my friend Chris. Thank you once again, as always, brother. And today we're going to be talking about Transformers Volume 3, Combiner Chaos. So, this continues the Energon universe, which I've been reading in trade, and I gotta say, real quick, and if I haven't said it already, I really like how this Energon universe is being, like, put together, and the trades really help, and how they produce the trades, and how they, like, put them out like cycles, like phases to like a shared universe. Basically, like, at least this is how I see it at the bare minimum, is that what we have is Void Rivals for me is always like the next phase. So it started with Void Rivals, then we went to Transformers, Duke, and Cobra Commander, then we got Void Rivals Volume 2, which was like the start of Phase 2, I guess you could call it. At least that's how I see it. I know it's weird, but that's how I'm keeping track of things. Anyway, I guess you could say this marks the end of Phase 2, because in the next week, 2 weeks from now, we are going to be getting Void Rivals Volume 3, which I will be, funds allowing, I will try to get Volume 3 and review that. I know Chris is probably going to be sending me G.I. Joe, which comes like a week after, and then it's just kind of an open gap until G.I. Joe Volume 2 and Transformers Volume 4 come out in November. And then, again, if the trade releases come out, the Volume 4 of Void Rivals will come out then, in December. So anyway, so let's get back to this. Now, for those who forgot, in Volume 2, the Decepticons have been fractured. Soundwave took control of the remaining Decepticons, because remember, Megatron is not there. He was a prisoner of Cobra Law, and essentially, Soundwave usurped Starscream and left him for dead. And the remaining Decepticons are now like, let's just try our best to like just get our shit together. But now, after a piece of Cybertron fell apart because Optimus refused to sacrifice Earth for Cybertron, what happened is that, Shockwave's dead, and now the Decepticons are even splintered further because Starscream got found by Cobra, and in doing so, he found the remaining Combaticons, brought them back, healed the one that was wounded. I think it was Onslaught, and now has the Combaticons at his service. And his whole thing now is fuck you, Soundwave. He's also recovered Astro Train, and yeah, the Autobots are just it's brutal to be an Autobot in this whole situation, because Optimus is like barely holding it together. As it is, he sacrificed his planet. He accidentally left Cliffjumper on Cybertron. Alita is pissed off at him, and now Beachcomber and RC are headed out to find Magnus with Spike and Carly, who I forget are here. Like, I've literally forgotten like Spike and Carly multiple times. I was like, oh yeah, the human characters. That's right, because we come to see robots. Not to say Spike and Carly aren't bad characters in the slightest. I think they're actually pretty solid. It's just that I feel like their whole plot line gets forgotten. But yeah. But here we really get to see more of the intermingling of G.I. Joe and Transformers universes coming together. Obviously, Cobra agents found Starscream and made him like half tank. Then you have like what appears to be G.I. Joe attacking Ultra Magnus and RC and Beachcomber. And you have, it's a zero tolerance policy, because now the Transformers are just out in the world wrecking shit, especially the Decepticons, who are just like, fuck subtlety, we need resources now, so fuck you, Wyoming. Also, the fight in Seattle, it's awesome. I really hope Daniel Warren Johnson gets to do a Godzilla comic at some point. I know he's done like commission art, and yeah. It's I'm trying to find like a good piece of art to really like capture again that to tell you what you already know, that Daniel Warren Johnson is, well, pretty fucking awesome as a writer and especially as an artist. He's a dual threat. But like I said, this is called Combiner Chaos for a reason, because remember, Soundwave still has the Constructicons, so it's just several fights between Bruticus and Devastator, and trust me, those fights between Bruticus and Devastator are awesome. Again, it really harpens back to what I said, that, I really hope Danny Warren Johnson gets a Godzilla miniseries from IDW. I would love nothing more than to see Warren Johnson do a Godzilla comic. Anyway, I digress. So, what was another thing I wanted to bring up? Oh, in here we also get Starscream's backstory, which I found really interesting, because here he's more of he started out as like a very idealistic scientist, and he was trying to keep his friends, one named Okta, I think Gavin or something like that, and Jetfire together, and they actually have this very heartfelt moment, because the war is starting up, and Jetfire is leaving Cybertron to find other resources, and Garvin, I think that's his name, Garvin, and Starscream, whose real name is Oktar, that's his. He just takes the name Starscream as like his Decepticon name. And they have this really sweet moment. It almost feels like a slice of life before the tragedy in anime, where they see Omega Supreme fly by and he waves at them, and I thought that was really cool. But here we also learn something interesting, and it plays into the rest of the comic, is that Megatron has a gun mode, and he needs a wielder. And it also kind of in here, at least in this continuity, it explains why Starscream didn't just chuck his ass into a vat of acid when he was in his gun mode. We find out that Megatron has this effect on other Cybertronians. When they captured Autobots during the war, Starscream was like, no, they're prisoners of war, we can't. And then he feels Megatron's influence in his brain, and he just ends up gunning them down and just kind of robbing Starscream of any innocence he had left. It also kind of gives a new layer in here of why this version of Starscream hates Megatron and did what he did, because the dude literally forced him to become something he's not. And that's what we kind of see with Optimus, is that he's been using Megatron's gun arm this whole time, and now we're starting to see his mentality is starting to cave. He's falling under stress. He's also firing in crowded areas, and he's almost killed humans. So we're seeing Megatron's almost he's almost like Sauron when you think about it. He has this malice to him that his circuitry is imprinting on other Cybertronians. The stuff with Cliffjumper, who was left on Cybertron, he finds Alita and the other Autobots, and they are trying to create a new Autobot as a turn the tides thing, which we get Scraphead. Scraphead's pretty cool. He's used from the junk of Carly's old van, which her dad's old van. Which the moment you saw that in the early volume of Warren Johnson's run, you were like, "That's going to be a Transformer," and we get that paid off. And Scraphead, I hope, gets a figure at some point, because it's a solid toy. It would be a solid. I'm trying to. There we go. Oh, lost it. So professional on this channel, I swear. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The comic itself does end on a very sour note. Again, the Autobots are once again pushed back to the limit. They are beaten down again, and I guess you guys probably know this by now, but Megatron returned. He's wounded, but now he's back and uniting the Decepticons again, and the Autobots are just kicked in the teeth. On top of that, you also have Thundercracker, who I think might turn Autobot, or at least go his own way. Of how this story, Thundercracker's whole story has been kind of the underlying thing of that Thundercracker doesn't want to do this. He's just tired of the war. He just wants to he just wants to save Skywarp from, after what Soundwave and Starscream did to him in Teletran. He's just done. Anyway, the comic has been really solid. I'm really worried though that we'll rush to the finish. because issue 24 is the end of Daniel Warren Johnson's run, and he said initially it was going to be 50 issues, but he said, well, the story I wanted to tell, I could probably wrap up in 24 issues. And it made me go, so... this was and this is not a knock at Warren Johnson. This is not a knock on him, but he is a writer / artist, and a very detailed artist at that. So to have him do an ongoing this long, I always had a fear that he wasn't going to stay on the comic this long. I'm shocked that he's lasted up to 24 issues. Because again, and also the other thing I like about the Energon universe is that they take breaks in between story arcs to allow writers to ingest what the other persons have done, and also allow creators to write and draw the comics as they need be. The creative teams as need be. So, yeah. But I was worried that Daniel Warren Johnson wasn't going to be able to stay on the comic too long. So hopefully, I just hope, he manages to tell the story that he wanted to tell. And on top of that, I'm curious to see what's going to happen if they're going to renumber Transformers again after issue 24, or they're just going to continue with issue 25. I don't know. And I don't know who the creative team's going to be. I don't know if, Williamson will take over, because Williamson's doing a lot. He's doing G.I. Joe. He's also doing a shit ton of stuff at Marvel. I mean, not Marvel, DC, excuse me, at DC. So I don't know if they'll find someone else to take over. I'd actually kind of like Ryan Parrott. He's not doing anything. Ryan Parrott did a phenomenal run on Power Rangers at Boom Studios after Kyle Higgins left the comic after Shattered Grid. I think Ryan Parrott would be really solid. He's not doing anything. I know he's doing the third TMNT Power Rangers crossover, but really he is not doing anything major, at least to my knowledge. So you could get him. Maybe get Higgins. Kyle Higgins would be kind of cool if he's I think he could bounce between. He's already working at Image, and I think he's also doing some stuff at Marvel now. But I think he could do it. Anyway, so yeah, the Energon universe continues to be the most awesome thing, one of the most awesome comics out there, and it's been a solid reboot since IDW was forced to let go of this and G.I. Joe. Cannot wait for Void Rivals Volume 3 and G.I. Joe to see what Williamson does with that. But yeah, you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of Transformers Combiner Chaos? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.